Hi, exhale, welcome in. This is your yin practice, and today we're doing a special Advance Your Yin class. So, this is a way for you to add layers and really build on a deeper stretch, deeper flexibility and mobility in your body, and a deeper recovery for all the amazing other things that you're doing in your life when you need to find balance. So I'll be offering a lot of different options, layers, and modifications today. You will want 2 blocks for this practice to make it the most beneficial experience. And we'll begin in child's pose. So go ahead and pivot onto your mat. Bring your toes to touch and your knees out wide. And let's just find traditional child's. No props to start. Relax your forehead down. Reach your fingertips in front of you over the crown of your head. Let your elbows bend maybe a little bit more than they normally would in child's pose. And close your eyes and start to find your breath. As we shift into our yin practice, it's important to allow the breath and the intention to shift as well. So you're breathing pretty naturally here and rhythmically, with reminders every once in a while to take your breath a little deeper or slower. And then we're shifting into this idea of moving into deep holds, longer holds, more active or passive stretching, so that we're working into the fascia, the ligaments, the deep connective tissue that supports the function of our body. So interlace your hands and rest the palms, the heels of your hands at the nape of your neck, and the elbows out to the sides of your mat. Just feeling like a weighted blanket almost in the back of your head. Relax your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. And just settle your hips over your heels. Maybe the knees can open a little wider to the edges of your mat. And then we'll take a moment in surfboard pose before we move into child's pose part 2 with the blocks. So release your palms back to the earth in front of you. Stretch your fingertips forward to the front of your mat so that your shoulders lift up and hug back. Slowly shift your gaze towards your fingertips, lifting your head slightly. Pull the hips off the heels. Stretch your legs out behind you and melt your hips down onto the floor. Stack one hand on top of the other, like a pillow for your forehead. And imagine that you're floating on a surfboard. Now, to make this a little bit more interesting or restorative, you can lift your hips up and back with me. Find your blocks and you'll place them underneath the tops of your feet. So the edging of the block is right around the crease of your ankle. And then you'll come back into your surfboard pose, but now your feet are floating on your blocks. Stack opposite palm on top, forehead rest, and then ease back in. When I offer you these different modifications and variations and layers, and you come back into the pose or out of the pose, but know that you'll be able to drop right back in where you left off and possibly even go deeper each time. So these minor disruptions in your practice are there to serve you. And if you're in a pose and moving into a variation does not call to you, then you're already where you need to be. And that's part of advancing your practice, is listening to that true teacher within you. And then slowly slide your hands, or lift your forehead off your palms first and slide your hands back towards your shoulders. Bend the elbows, press yourself away from the floor, sift your hips up and back. Take your feet off the blocks, toes back to touch, and now we're going to incorporate blocks with our child's pose. So first thing I want you to try is knees out a little bit wider, hips on your heels, and blocks underneath your palms, and then melting your forehead, your chest towards the floor. Maybe even grip into the edging of the block with your fingertips a little bit. And then wrapping your shoulders onto your back. This is where the breath may shift a little bit. Deeper inhales and exhales, really clearing the chest and the throat.
the back of your neck, the back of your lungs. So this is one layer. And another layer is to bring the blocks to support your shoulders. So we'll bring the blocks closer to us. Bend your elbows on top of the blocks. Your head should be able to fit between your blocks. And then you can bend the elbows and bring your hands behind the nape of your neck. So you'll notice that the stretch changes with the support of the blocks. And press the elbows down against the blocks and let your forehead and head face be soft and gentle. Invigorate your breathing so that we're opening up this space even more in front of the body, chest, triceps. And then slowly release your palms back towards the floor. Lift your head. Bring your palms on top of your blocks. Lift your hips. And we're going to move into supported tabletop. So hands are going to be on your blocks still. Knees underneath your hips. And little cat-cow movements. And now we'll move into variation of bringing the blocks underneath the knees. Palms are on top of your mat on the floor. And then we find our cat-cow variations. So feeling those subtleties, those little shifts in the stretch and the movement with the use of the blocks. And then this time tuck your toes, let your hips come back a little bit, and stretch your fingertips forward a little bit more. 3 breaths here. Shoulders back. Feeling compression with your chest on your belly, belly on your thighs. Slide your palms towards you, lift yourself back to tabletop. Move the blocks back underneath your hands. And we're gonna thread the needle here. So one block off to the side or off to the front of your mat won't be needed. Change your block perpendicular for the support of your head. Right arm reaches up high. We'll take a couple arm circles. Forward and back a few times. And then guide your right arm underneath your left, thread it through. And then you might need to just move your block so that you can support your head on the block. And then half bind with your other hand resting at your low back. And then feel the breath doing the work to stretch the body, to release any stagnation or inflammation, any stuck energy so that you can freely move into your body or move back into place. Return left palm to the earth. We counter this stretch by reaching the right arm back up. And exhale, we change. So let's find our circles first. Lift the arm up and around a few times. Forward and back. Thread your needle, guide the arm underneath. Support your block underneath your head, and then find your half bind. Flip your palm up. Think of this as a way to kind of guide your hips back a little bit more. Wrap your breath around the outside of your arm, your shoulder, guiding back away from your ear. And then release, right palm down, inhale, left arm up, counter stretch, let your hip move as it needs to with this stretch, and exhale back to the earth. So let's move our blocks to the side, top side of the mat for now so they're out of the way.
And we'll come back into the earth. First Sphinx pose variation, tops of the feet down, to prop yourself onto your forearms. Bend the elbows, press palms down, pull the chest through here, and then roll so that your heels are center. And then we're going to bend the left knee out to the side in line with your left hip crease. So externally rotating, left knee out. Quick check, we won't want the knee too far forward. We want it right in line with this hip crease here. And then repivot your chest through, center shoulders over elbows and elbows in line with your wrists. Push down to the top of your right foot for an added stretch and curl your left toes in towards you. And keep working your chest through, top of the head towards the sky. Some of these poses, the longer we're here, the better, but some of them we just need to hold space for a few moments and then the job is done. And then we'll come into flapping fish pose. So completely surrender and then let your left elbow meet your left knee. Flip your right palm behind you so the shoulders naturally in its socket. You can take one of your blocks, you can use it as a pillow, or another option to make this interesting is guide the block underneath your knee for your flapping fish pose. Then relax your gaze towards your bent elbow and knee, close the eyes. We're going to hang out here and slow down for a few breaths. If you have the block underneath, go ahead and slide it out. Let your knee gently fall back to the floor. Start to come out of your flapping fish pose, recenter, Sphinx pose, upper body variation. And then we're going to extend our hip stretch here. Go ahead and straighten your left leg completely. Roll onto the right hip more. Left leg completely stretches out here. And then as we align and stack the hips here, repivot your forearms back to the floor. Let your left leg continue to kick out. Here for a few more breaths, turn your left toes in towards your shin. And then return to roll onto your right hip. Stretch this top leg out in front of you. Bend your left knee, cat pulling tail pose. You can stay here, supporting your chest to be lifted. You can slowly come down, support your hand underneath your head. You can also relax onto your block here, which I'm going to recommend. And then your other block can be placed underneath your extended foot. And we're going to hang out here. If there was a pose that you found was more beneficial for you earlier that you want to dive back into, you can stay there, come back to it, stay here with me, close eyes.
start to release your hand to foot connection, let your right leg stretch back towards the earth. Take a moment to just kick this block away that your foot was resting on. Move your block away from you, in front of your mat. Start to come back into your Sphinx pose stretch. Bring your legs back together to touch. And then we're going to move into that series through the whole other side. So I'm going to shift my body to change to face you. You stay as you are. And let's set ourselves up for our hip opening on the other side. So Sphinx pose, bending the right knee. And again, checking in, knee is in line with your hip crease. Heel is right underneath your knee. Toes curl in towards your shin. Recenter your chest center, shoulders back, heart comes through. Press to the top of your back foot down against the mat. Lift your proud chest, crown of your head to the sky. And breathe. Close eyes and just breathe here. And start to find our props to support clapping fish pose variation. Perhaps slowly come down to the melt, like you just deflated, right? Melt down to the earth, elbow to knee. Flip the left palm underneath you. Relax here, or you can use a block underneath your head. Now, if you want, you can take a moment to lift your knee and scoop the block underneath the knee. You can also bring the block underneath your head. I personally prefer to have my head right on the floor. Close eyes, find your breath. Let your breath find you. Find a little bit of movement to come out of this pose. So if you have blocks, set them off to the side. Repivot your Sphinx pose frontline body. Turn your arm perpendicular for a moment. Roll into your left hip. Extend your right leg out in front of you. And then roll back into your Sphinx pose. So you kick the right leg out. Press through the top of your left foot. Pull the chest through, shoulders back, stretch. And then let's set up for cat pulling tail pose. So roll back onto your left hip. Keep this top leg extended out. You can bring the block underneath the foot. Bend your bottom knee, grab onto the foot. You can rest your head in your hand. You can rest it onto a block. If you rest it on the block, then you can extend your arm out in front of you. Just hang out here. We'll close our eyes together and breathe into this active stretch, opening up the quad, opening up the chest and shoulders a little bit. Just freely breathe. Slowly release your hand to foot connection. Let your legs straighten. Both legs stack, roll back onto your hips. Back into a Sphinx pose. We're going to set up for blocks underneath triceps here. So as you're on your hips and your belly, bring your blocks in front of you, rest your triceps on the blocks. You want enough space for your head to rest between the blocks. Hands can come to the back of your shoulders. You can bring the palms to touch behind the nape of your knee. So we felt this variation before, but now our legs are completely stretched out. So just a few breaths here. Let your hips sink and drop into the floor. Roll your chest through and shoulders back as you press vigorously with your forearms, rather your triceps back onto the blocks. And then release your arms to the side. Go post your arms, tuck your chin into your throat, prostration. Slide your hands back towards your rib bones, tuck your toes, reverse tabletop rise. Shift your hips back. Find your blocks underneath your hands for supported puppy pose. So melting the chest, it may be that your forehead, chin, or nose don't touch the floor here, and that's okay. So hips are high off the heels. You might have to bring your blocks back a little closer to you so you're not dumping into the shoulders too much. Press the heels of your hands on your block. Relax the back of your neck. And breathe. Feel how you're kind of suspending each breath. Your chest might get a little closer to the floor. And then slowly lift your forehead, bring your chest closer towards your blocks, walk your knees in. Bring your hips onto your heels, blocks out to the side. Stretch your arms behind you, embryo pose for a counter stretch. So you should feel really nice counter stretch to the back of the spine. You can also bring a block underneath your forehead in your embryo pose for support. Slowly slide the back of your hands forward until you can flip them facing down, and then reaching them forward, rise yourself up. And take a moment here to sit your hips onto your heels. Bring your thumbs towards your hip creases, a little bit of massage here. Proud chest, roll the shoulders back, bend the elbows. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay, so let's move into more hip opening, advancing your yin practice. Blocks are going to now be an extension of your arms and your hands. So bring them to the front of your mat. Step your right foot forward between the blocks. Back knee is down. And then we'll bring our blocks more medium height here. Start to pull your chest through, roll the shoulders back, bend elbows as much as needed here. Your toes can be tucked or untucked. Just sort of see what feels best for your knee. Press into your blocks and keep working your chest through. So big psoas stretch here. Breathing in and breathing out. And then slowly recoil a little bit, pull your hips back. Take one of your blocks and bring it underneath your knee for support.
And then straighten your front leg, pull the hips back. Another option is to bring your block on front of your shin bone, and then you'll bring your forehead to the block. So you're supporting the stability of the block by pressing your shin against the block and your forehead against the block. This is a great prep for any pose that requires you to bring forehead to knee. And then notice your chest and shoulders. Shoulders back, broaden your chest. And then we'll release our block to the side, come forward, and change. Step this right knee back, blocks to medium height. Step the left foot forward, back knee is down, toes tucked or untucked. Pressing into your blocks, roll the shoulders back, bring the chest through, close eyes, breathe. We're feeling it a lot in the front of the hip flexors, the psoas. This is going to be great for releasing a lot of pull or tension in the low back. Relax your jaw, relax your forehead, and then find your breath again. Let your breath find you. Start to recoil back, bend the knees, pull the hips back. Support yourself to bring your block underneath your knee. Straighten the front leg, walk your hands back, shoulders back, chest comes through, and then the option of bringing that block to forehead shin connection. Ensure that the block is not on your kneecap. We want it on the shin so we're not dumping into the knee joint. And there should be a little bend push back so that you're not hyperextending at the attachment of the hamstring or the calf. Check in with shoulders, proud chest, shoulders back, lengthening the back of your neck. And then slowly release. Left knee returns, block out from underneath your knees. Let's bring our block center. And now we're going to do cat-cows with the block at medium height. So little tucks and curls. All right, and then come to a seat. Cross your legs. Oops. And we'll bring our blocks underneath the thighs and the soles of the feet together, so Baddha Konasana. So you have a few options here. As you're seated, you may notice the blocks at the lowest height feels pretty good, or maybe bringing them more to medium height might feel even better, because the idea here is that we want to be super passive in this hip opening. So see what feels best for you. You can even use rolled up towels, pillows, or blankets on the side. And let's just find a couple little cat-cow movements here. So hands against the shin bones, lift the chest, tuck the chin to the chest, rock and roll through. I'm going to do some chest, neck, shoulder opening. Do a lot of low body, hip work. So let's bring that energy up back into the body. Bring the fingertips towards your shoulders, little twist side to side. All right, back to center, arms out. Cross the left or the right arm underneath. Palms can come together or back of the hands together for eagle arms. And just work on trying to find the pull, the hug in, and the resist at the same time. So trying to pull your elbows and wrists away and then hugging them back in. Soften shoulders onto your back, close your eyes here, and breathe. Release, open up here, thumbs point up. Exhale, change sides, right into the other side, opposite arm under. And again, that hug and release. So trying to feel the battle of opposition, finding its united space to come together to bring you back into balance. Close eyes, focus inward, find your breath. One more breath in. And release. Open up the arms. Stretch the arms up over your head. Palms connect. Exhale, bring the hands behind the nape of your neck like we felt before, but lift your head proudly, lift your chest proudly, elbows in towards your temples. A little bit of resistance here, like you're trying to pull the heels of your hands towards the back of your neck, the back of your head towards the heels of your hands. And release. Okay, let's bring the feet or the ankles towards one another as you crisscross your legs. We'll sit on one of our blocks and we'll be finding a little bit of movement through the upper body. Squeeze your block with your hands. Bring it out in front of you and then bend the elbows and lift your block up towards your forehead and then re-extend. So a little isometric tricep bicep work here just to warm up the upper body. And then this time, bring the block up and behind the back of the head. So you're going to press the block to the back of the head, head to the back of the block. Elbows come in towards temples, a slight lifting of your chest, a slight leaning back, a tucking of your tailbone down, a pulling of your navel back to spine, and then taking this into a bit of a back bend. Open, open, open. Breathe freely through the chest. Feel all that new space that's clearing for you. And then slowly bring your head back over your heart. Lift the block up. Bend the elbows, bring the block back. So 2 more like that. Stretch up, squeeze the block a lot, and then lower it back. 1 more up and down. Take this out to the side. Let's find a little bit more movement through the neck. Draw your chin towards your chest. Interlace your hands behind the nape of your neck, elbows in towards your temples. Hang out here for a few breaths. And then slowly lift your head, open up the elbows wide, relax your head into your hands here, engage your core, and then pull that all back in. Lift, open up. Exhale, tuck, curl. Lift, open, expansion. Exhale, tuck, curl. 1 more. Open up. Exhale, tuck, curl. Keep your chin on your chest. Relax your hands to your thighs and then take half circles, half moon, chin to chest, ear to shoulder, chin to chest. And then pause to one side. So let's say if your right ear is towards your right shoulder, you'll take your right hand outside the outside of your ear, top of the ear. And then left palm will reach behind you facing out. And then be very soft and gentle here. We don't want to pull or tug. Keep your head tilted as it is. Take your right hand outside the right ear and use that to bring your head back over center. And then we change sides. Drop ear to shoulder on the other side. Start off slow because especially if you're releasing a lot of tightness and stuckness, you might need to be mindful with your transitions so that you're not kinking the neck. Hand outside the left ear, right hand behind you for the half bind. Close your eyes, relax your jaw. Breathe magnificently into any tension you're feeling around the neck and the shoulder space here. And then hand supports outside your ear, lift your head back over center space, release your hand from your low back. And just take a moment to kind of wiggle the shoulders, shake the head out a little bit, maybe some rolls, shake out the wrists and the hands. And now we'll bring it back to the earth. So come off your block and we'll build on the support of the blocks outside the thighs. So start off by crossing the legs. You can hug your knees into your chest as you roll back. You can place your heels into the floor, support yourself rolling onto your back, hug your knees into your chest, give yourself a little rock and roll clockwise, counterclockwise, and then recline bound angle pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, the soles of the feet together with the support of your blocks. So lowest point, scoop them in underneath your hips, see how that feels. The idea here again is to be very passive. So you might even want to physically help tuck the tailbone and turn the rim of the back of your pelvis down. You could even bring the blocks up to more medium height, and that could be a little more supportive. And then relax your hands wherever feels good for you. Hip creases, hand, belly, heart, or maybe goalpost the arms if you want a little bit more chest expansion and opening through the chest. And close your eyes and just follow the lift and lowering of your chest and your belly. Now you may choose to stay here. This could be right where your sweet spot is today. Or we move into a supported bridge. So bring your feet to the floor as you lift your knees. Take a moment to tuck your tailbone and release your low back onto the earth just to counter that hip opening. Press your heels down, lift your hips enough that you can slide your block underneath your sacrum at the lowest point. And then your second block, you can bring that between your thighs to be a little bit more engaged, or you can just let it sit to the side. Relax your arms beside you, palms flip up. And then once again, just settling into that automatic release and stillness, close eyes, melt into the pose.
And then check in here, and maybe you're staying here a little longer. Maybe you're ready for something a little different. Once again, sort of tuck tailbone, pull navel down to spine, lift just enough to slide the block out from underneath you. We'll set our blocks off to the side as you slowly release your back line to the earth. Hug your knees into your chest. Little rock and roll clockwise, counterclockwise. Send legs up to the sky for a moment, just for a little reset. Roll out the ankles, point and flex the toes. And then this is where we start to truly surrender. So we're going to set ourselves up for our last posture, which will be the one that you'll hold on to for quite some time. As you advance your practice, the idea is that you're building into a longer Shavasana, a longer relaxation. So that could be physically putting your legs on a wall or bending your knees over the edge of a chair or a couch. It could be finding a few more props, blankets, pillows, bolsters, and coming into a super juicy, relaxed Shavasana. You can simply bring your blocks underneath your knees, relaxing your back line onto the earth. Maybe it feels good to come into the reclined bound angle pose. So just spend a few moments setting yourself up for stillness, for a pose that you can really anchor into for quite some time. And I'll stay live and connected with you for a few more moments so that you can get to the point where once I leave you, you stay and let yourself drop deeper into this pose, into this space. Pose means to sit, to be. So give yourself that time to wiggle out the kinks, wiggle out the wiggles, settle yourself into final relaxation. Close your eyes and bring awareness to how you feel. What it means for you to hand yourself over to your practice. We advance our practice by allowing ourselves to be still, stay longer, hold on to, sit with whatever is coming up, whatever it is that we've been pushing off to the side, whatever it is that needs our focus and attention, or rather deserves our focus and attention. The idea here is the longer that you're here in stillness, the more you will receive. The more you will renew, charge your battery, and restore. So even as this disconnect happens where the class is no longer live, you are still in your zone, your Zen zone. As I move into final preparations to end our physical time together, give yourself a complete body scan from your fingertips all the way up through your entire being, all the way down through your entire being. Allow yourself to release any bondage to time, to your to-do list, to this idea that you should be doing something harder, something more physical, because advancing your practice is turning off that mind of I should, I could, into I am. I have everything I need right here within me. You will have that time when you're off doing push-ups or running or flowing for an hour, but this time is what's going to give that time energy, strength, power. So advance your space, advance yourself, advance your mind by dropping in to the now. You are here, prepared to be nowhere else. I will leave you in this space. It is yours. Only you can create it for you. Enjoy. I'll see you next time. Namaste.